If you're looking for a secure haven within the literary world, you found the perfect organization. Let's make magic together. Our space is specifically designed for African American authors who are passionate about their writings of films and books. It's a platform to stay informed about industry developments. And on Patreon, we'll share exclusive content, valuable resources, and engaging discussions and masterclasses on various subjects, ranging from film and publishing industry trends to wellness and business tips. So if you're ready to dive into this exciting community, become a member now. Welcome to our literary haven where creativity knows no bounds. Let's make magic together.
They're not gonna let people like me be recognized. They're not gonna let me in the room. Fuck it. I'm gonna make my own room. I had all these dreams and things I wanted to do, and I wanted to basically be this published artist. I began to realize, wait, I gotta pull back because what am I looking for? What am I thinking?
Hey y'all, it's me, your fave, Jazzonfire. And if you are seeing my face on your screen, then you know what that means. It is fourth Sunday and another episode of In Creative Color, where we are chatting with the stories of the heartbeats of the folks behind the art. We're learning what it looks like to paint the pictures that they did with their projects, the work that they do. We are here to talk with the creators, the bakers, the movers, and shakers. Welcome to In Creative Color, y'all. So, as always, we got another lovely guest that I cannot wait to bring on for y'all to meet. Gia Compton is in the building. Gia, how are you feeling today?
Happy Sunday, Jasmine. I feel so good to be here and to see you this afternoon. I've been looking forward to talking to you so much.
I'm so excited.
I am a fan of Jazzonfire, for real.
Yeah, love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well, we hope once we are done here, we'll have a bunch of new Gia Compton fans for sure. All right, y'all. So, of course, we always got to get into this bio because it's always stacked. The guests here, their resumes are always stacked. So, Gia Compton is a veteran legal executive and strategist for artists, musicians, writers, and producers in the entertainment space. She is a writer, producer, broadcaster with her own production credits. Her roots are deep in culture-driven artistic expression. A long-serving patron of the arts in all forms, she has sponsored and presented before numerous film festivals and music forums, supporting new voices and visions. She regularly presents on topics that focus on the protection and sustainability of those working in the creative industries. She is the Business Affairs Director for AMG, a Canadian-based global film, TV music company. She is General Counsel to GB Productions, known for documentary projects, including a Wu-Tang Experience in Killer Hill, which we are going to get into today. She is a legal analyst and columnist for industry publications. She is a certified arbitrator for FINRA, so the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and is approved as a registered agent for the WNBA. I mean, y'all, stacked. She is a board member of the Georgia Intellectual Property Association, and Gia received her BA from Mercer University and her JD from Emory University School of Law. She is represented by Next Phase Media in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, Gia Compton. Wow.
Yes, thank you.
You're so welcome. Now, as always, I love for us to pray in. I know y'all might have gotten your word and your prayer this morning, but we're going to pray in again. So, Father, we just thank you for another glorious day that you have made. Every day is the work of your hands, and we just thank you that we, as your creations, can just bask in the presence of our Creator. We thank you for Gia. We thank you for her work and everything that she has contributed, oh God, as a result of the gifts that you have given her. We pray that this conversation will be soul food for someone who is hungry, God, whether that is to create or for the Creator. And whether we reach 1 or 1 million, we will not fail to give you all the glory. It is in your name we pray all these things. Amen.
Thank
Oh,
you.
right. So y'all heard the bio, y'all heard the resume, y'all. We checked the spreadsheets. Like it's there. It's Gia. Who are you? Firstly, when you aren't moving and shaking, tell us what do you love to do? What gets you going?
Oh, so many things. I think more than anything, Jasmine, I'm a person that wakes up grateful. There are many of the things that you read about me that are not so much a reflection of me as they are the divine energy that has touched and redirected my life in times when I really wasn't necessarily on point, but I always trying to follow the guidance, looking for the light on the path. And I'm grateful that I've yielded to it when I've needed to, and that even in the times in which I resisted it, that it stayed with me, so that I intersected with great people. I intersected with great projects. I stayed connected to people who were caring about how they moved,
Hmm.
and found my tribe.
For sure. I love that. And we got to know because it's always interesting to see people be where they are because I mean, God is intentional, but it's funny that sometimes the places that we end up, or the things we end up doing, we don't necessarily mean to. But we want to know your story. We want to know, where did it start? Were you in law and then you kind of had a passion for media? Have you always had a passion for both? When did the merge start? When did you say, okay, I can do this?
I always had a passion for being of service to people and recognizing that I had skills and capabilities that were not common,
Hmm.
but the circumstances in which people found themselves in need of that skill set were abundant. So I would, go back to recognizing that feeling in myself when I was really maybe somewhere around 7 years old. And I was with my great grandmother who owned some property in South Georgia. And she was in an attorney's office talking about some issue. And I was standing in the back of the room. But this woman who was the matriarch of the family, so full of wit and fire and determination about everything that she did, even at 7 years old, I saw a different power dynamic in the room. And something made me wonder whether or not it was a place where she could count on the direction. There seemed to have been a shift in her personal power in that space. And I wanted to be able to do something, to intervene, to enhance her safety. All of that at 7 years, 6 or 7 years old, of seeing her in that position. So it was natural to me to want to help people to figure out exactly what is that document saying. What do you need to do? Can they do these things to you? Are you being treated right? Is this fair? And to champion other people. So that was something that was in me to do. And I fell in love with the law. I always wanted to be a lawyer and to be able to use it to help people who were in that position. So my early career as a lawyer was just that. Even though I attended Emory, which had at that time a heavy focus on preparing people to work in firms, Wall Street, corporate settings, I went to represent poor people. So after law school, I went to Georgia Legal Services, the best work of my entire life still today, because I went into Southwest Georgia to represent indigent people, voting rights cases, slum landlords, where the rubber meets the road, temporary protective orders, domestic abuse, all of those types of cases. And just me and my little red Mustang out on a 2-lane highway behind a chicken, truck with the white Olivia Pope hat on,
Yeah.
fearless and maybe a little bit naive, but with all
That's going
of
to be
the,
time.
that's, that's the time to do it. It's the time to do it when you just don't have any fear about the things that you're doing. But it was a wonderful environment because I was with brilliant people. Some of the most brilliant legal minds that I've ever encountered, dealing with some complex problems from which I was prepared to dissect problems in a way I don't think that anything else would have prepared me to do. someone comes in your office with a bag full of papers and they don't know what's in there and kind of dumps it on your desk. I found out something about myself, that if I can decode this, there's not a lot I'm not going to be able to decode. So that was the work that all of that effort of, finishing law school really went into. And everything after that was just me doing what I wanted to do, what I wanted to try. The creative side was always there. I was the kid in high school who put on the talent shows and brought in the DJs from the radio station. So I was really a creative that went to law school, but that work was as equally important to me. And as I got further into being a lawyer, there were the opportunities for that to come back. I represented artists, I represented nightclubs, I did promotions and had comedy shows and all of that. So I was always touching it in some way. And then over time, that grew into more individual representation, and it just it was organic. It was very much an organic space for me to be in, to have the opportunity to meet artists and writers and actors and people who were on the way to becoming, who they are, which is so important, Jasmine, as we talk about what it means to be in this space. So often people are very focused on networking vertically. But in my own life, to be able to have a great eye and a great ear, I've met people who were starting out, right? And watched them and had an opportunity to kind of build with them. And I love that. I absolutely love that. I have to tell you, because I know you're in Atlanta and he performs around Atlanta, but last week, Travis Hall, you know about Travis Hall? You heard it here first. You got to know about Travis. So I heard him because I'm always listening to music, and I heard this voice, and I'll hear something different, which is wonderful. It's not the algorithm. It's something that pops out to me like this is something new and beautiful, and I want to know more about the work that's being created by this person. So I had the opportunity to meet him, and he invited me to his album release party. Travis trained as an opera singer.
Wow.
He's also an ATLian. And now sings this wonderful blend of soulful music that, it's just amazing. And so in watching him, I had chills like 3 different times, because not only were the notes getting to me, I was seeing the rise of a golden moment, right? And I've always had the eye and the ear for what's good. So I was very happy to have that moment. I love those moments. So that's kind of getting back to the head. You ask me, what is it? What is it about this thing that draws me in? And it's actually getting to see the creativity as an expression of humanity, that divine spark that's in you. And when you see it, and everything else around you just sort of disappears, because you realize now this is it. This is the community of the soul. This is where nothing else matters. It's not about gender. It's not about race. It's just about that expression of humanity. And it's so beautiful, just so beautiful. So I'm addicted to that. I love it in the form of music. I love it in the form of writing. I participate in the Black Writers Weekend just naturally, because I try to read maybe 7 or 8 books a year, because I'm always looking for something that I would be interested in optioning in addition to reading good work. And so I love it there that someone is able to get it from here into it's just amazing to me, because that's not easy. You see it on the page, but that's not easy. So I always applaud the effort of it. But then there are those times when you come across a work and this is something exceptional. This is some of the brightest and the best. And so I've just had wonderful experiences like the one I described with Travis. There's another musical artist, Cameron Corvée. He was a voice I heard one night. And then a year later, I ran into this voice at a performance. and realized later that's the same voice I heard a year ago. And so that note that he hit was still in my mind. And I heard him hit it that night. And he's another one that's just sort of, not even sort of, just an exceptional expression of what the work looks like when someone is consistent, when they are committed and they're dedicated and they work on their craft. And I love that trait in humans. Yeah, I really do.
I love that. I feel like there were so many nuggets that you dropped. Firstly, like the beauty of Atlanta, where like you can do that. Like you can hear a voice or you can see a work, and then you see the people behind the work, or you meet them, or you rub elbows with them at like a media event. Which is why, like my show, I'm like, you see people's work and you see the things that they produce like every day,
Mhm.
all day. But it's so beautiful to just hear from them. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
give us everything that like went into that. I think it's also beautiful, like you mentioned, that you have the eye and the ear. And so a lot of your work does include like advocating for protection and sustainability for those working in creative industries. You've got fair use, intellectual property. So G is the one you call when you want to make sure your stuff is together. Like, yeah, you're out there moving and shaking and creating and all the things. You call Gia to make sure you got it together, that their work is represented, it's yours, all the things. We want to know, like, what's the importance of what you do for creatives?
First, I would say, Jasmine, the importance is that I care.
Mm.
Independent of delivering whatever is being asked of me, that I care about today and I care about tomorrow for them. That, and I'll digress a little bit and then try to bring it back to the head. When I was in law school, first year, I think this is still the format of it, we took a property class. And I was listening to the sections, the other students that were talking about what was being covered in their property class, and just was so frustrated with my professor because he wasn't covering any of that. He wasn't talking about quitclaim deeds and mortgages and any of that stuff. And I'm thinking, look, this is an expensive joint. I need to get what they're getting so that I can pass this big test in 3 years. I was so frustrated with him. And, took the bar, passed the bar, really everything that I needed. I kind of got that in the bar review course to be able to answer those questions. But I was still frustrated, with him. I even saw him on the street in Atlanta one day and thought, I'd really like to address this with him, but I kept it moving. It took me about a year and a half, I think, to realize that he was 20 years ahead of his time, because he had spent the property class talking about and dissecting this case about the use of Elvis Presley's persona. And it was in a year and a half after law school that I realized that what he was talking about was intellectual property. And because of the way that he taught that, through the vehicle of real property, it has given me a 20-year ahead advantage on being able to see and help people to understand what it is that they own, and to really be able to identify the elements that they should be thinking about to protect, to exploit, so that it's not just the singing the song at the gig today, but it is also the syncing of the song. It is also
Yeah.
the beat. It is also where else can we utilize, what your team came up with that you threw away, all of that. And how do we protect that so that 5 years from now, when some media form or opportunity we're not even thinking about develops, you can look in your chest and see, can I use this? In the same way that you would if you bought a piece of property and you just let it sit, and then you find out somebody's building a shopping center down the street. Maybe this would be a good time for me to build a restaurant or to put a building here that might be a medical practice. You would think about that as an opportunity. And that's the same mindset that you need to think about how you create what you're creating and that intellectual property, and also not being so loose with it, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't let somebody just sit down on your property and start erecting a building and not pay you for it. You probably wouldn't. Um, you're not going to be able to build up the revenue that takes care of you today and maybe takes care of people that you care about in the future if
Yes.
that's your mindset. So apply that to you in the creative space and in all of the creative industries. So those are the things that I think that maybe is a set apart for me, because my mind tends to always be looking for the opportunity of the individual and the opportunity of what they create in order to be able to keep it going, right? The stories that we see so often of people who we know are wildly talented and who have done crazy work, and then in life circumstances not being able to take care of themselves, that kind of thing, whether it be in sports or entertainment or anywhere. I think we've seen those stories enough. We can change that. We can change it by protecting ourselves and thinking about the value of what we have in a different way.
Yeah, that's so good. And I feel like because the creative industry is so much of like what feels like intangibles, it's
Mhm.
hard to think about that, or it's hard to grasp it. Like you said, you wouldn't let somebody just come in and start building on your plot of land. So it's like the same thing with creative ideas and creative projects. Like you want to firstly like be able to profit off these things. Like of course the idea is to inspire and educate, but it's also like, okay, you want to make money, you want the gift that you have to, take care of you and the people you love. So I think it's super important. That's why I thought it was amazing that we would have you on, because we've had so many like creative minds, but we haven't had the people who are like behind the scenes, moving and shaking with the deal. So very glad to have you here, giving us the 411 on all things like that. I think about when you said that, specifically the moment with, like the artist, and it's like you heard it and you're like, yeah, like this is it. I
Mhm.
think I also saw in my research in an article that you said that you love deal making, which I'm sure many creatives love that as well. And this part, although sticky, is like the rewarding part for creatives. And then yourself, we want to know what this looks like. And then for you, what was like the most memorable deal that you were a part of that is like stuck with you to this day?
So you're asking me, what do I like about the deal? What do I
Yeah.
like about deal
What
making?
part of deal making, like, do you love?
Um, the opportunity. I love a couple of things about it, because I've done so many contracts of all kinds in the course of my life. Um, and really, all of the experience, it sounds kind of hackneyed now, but all of the experiences of your life have some value. Mistakes, things that you had to go back and clean up for someone else, or things that you looked and said, gosh, I didn't know that time, but I'll know it next time. There's nothing that's wasted. So being able to listen to what it is that people want to get done and figure out how to bring them together to do it. I love that, particularly if there seems to be, or there is a perceived obstacle to being able to crack that open and solve it. Like there's a way that this can still work. I'm a firm believer that for the most part, nobody knows anything,
Yeah.
and that it's really up to us to figure out how to get things done. I cannot really think of anything that I have been able to do personally that fit a blueprint. If you go back and dissect my life, I don't sit here with Jasmine today. That's not the way my story turns out. But yeah, here I am. And so I'm a pushback kind of a lawyer and creative, that I just believe that there's a way to solve most things. If they are credible and the intent is good, then I think that there's a way for us to do it. Even if not today, maybe if we set on it for a bit, we can come back and look at it from another angle or bring another brain to the table. Maybe we have to reach across the pond to get a solution there, but it's not always about trying to fit through a blueprint or a pipeline that's created by people who don't have your skills, don't have your ingenuity, don't have your belief, and they're saying no to you. So I love bringing all of the pieces together and having the background across so many things to be able to say, have you thought about this? This is what they would do in the healthcare setting. This is what an engineer's approach to this would be. Let's apply that and see if we can't make it squeak a little further down the road. And I think, it's hard for me to say like what's the most important or memorable deal, but I'll tell you about recently. I was working on general counsel for GB Productions, Gerald Barkley, amazing filmmaker, just the person who I've had the pleasure of seeing an entire golden ride, not even a golden moment, a golden ride unfolding for him. And we were working on a theatrical release of the Wu-Tang Experience in Red Rocks Amphitheater in Paris. And everybody on that side speaking French, and I don't. And maybe one or two people on that side speaking English. And it was a whole thing. Okay. It was a whole thing. And the words and the logic of their legal system versus ours around copyright. And so there was a whole struggle there around the use of words, but still we're going to close this. And then there was, they're 6 hours ahead and I need to get something to them by 8 in the morning, which is not the time that I want to be awake over here. But it was such wild, rowdy fun to get those things done and to push through them. And so I'll remember that for a while. And then that's just, I'm a mechanic on that. So that's just a small piece of making it work. But when I saw the optics for it, when I saw the Wu-Tang in Paris and I saw Gerald and RZA in those optics and thought about, wow, here these young men start out meeting each other in Staten Island and their teens, and they grow into the Wu-Tang, and he's the young man with the camcorder following them around, and there they are in Paris, right? I still get, chills just thinking about how nothing is wasted and this wonderful divine serendipity that happens because of the intention to get up every day and to find your point of excellence and just keep hitting on that and keep expanding on that. So just the film itself, the idea, the concept that they would go to Colorado and perform with a symphony, and then to create a documentary of it that's so stunning to look at. It's just all of that. And then there I am, the mechanic, that's making one little piece of it go. Because I don't, it's them, it's not me. I'm just the mechanic, but I got the opportunity to witness the entire arc of the journey through that. And I loved it. I really did. I still am so very happy to see the way in which Gerald has handled that project and that it continues to have this wonderful reception throughout the world. They get inquiries from Belgium and Croatia and Australia, all wanting to see that film that he made. I think that's phenomenal.
Wow. That is, just chill. You passed the chills along to me. So many nuggets, so many gems dropped in that. And I agree. It's like to be a part of something like that and to know like, oh, I'm playing such a small part, but it's so significant. It feels small, but it's so significant. Just wow. Wow. Well, speaking of the filmmaking process, you have gotten in your filmmaking bag yourself with your credits and your things. We want to know what it looks like when Gia puts the producer hat on. Tell us a little bit about Killer Hill.
Well, Killer Hill is another one of those fabulous projects that came out of the mind of Gerald Barkley. It is a docuseries that's based upon the true life events that happened in the neighborhood where they all grew up, Park Hill in Staten Island, New York. Real stories. So it's a docuseries. At this stage, it has the capacity to be many things. It's really a universe project because so much can grow out of it. I came to it when so much of the visual work had been done to assist with post-production, which you know, Jasmine, that's all the wonderful work that is done behind to
Yeah.
that's where it really gets down,
Yeah,
right?
the cutting and the slicing and the we should have got this in the field, but then we got to fix it and put.
All of that, right? And then and it's now available for viewing, and there's more to be developed there. But my eye again is toward, there are so many important messages and work that comes out of what he put for us to look at. And there's this wonderful viewpoint, I think, a point of view about the aftermath of that era in our country, this crack epidemic, and what it did to neighborhoods and what the resulting gun violence, the deaths, the fear did to people who were seen as the healers, you know, the women of those environments who lost their sons and their brothers and their fathers and their uncles. And as we look at women oftentimes as being that source of healing and community and safety in a neighborhood, what happens to the generations afterwards when those healers are hurt? When they do not get recognized, when they do not get the therapy and the restorative work that they need, and their availability to do that work is negated or diminished significantly. And the importance of us recognizing that it's not about whether or not the epidemic quelched. That's not it. It's about the impact, and that the need of that community and the need of those people is something that we are still due to address. And until we do that, we don't restore the health of the community. So that, as well as so many other points of view that we need to call out. And this gives us the opportunity to do so by, first of all, putting it in front for us to talk about. This is what happened, and it was hard, but there's still work that needs to be done as a result of it. Yeah.
Sure. I think there's something special always about work that not only brings us in, entertains, but it also calls out. It lights a fire under us. It turns some heads, so we're very grateful for Killer Hill and the stories that it's telling, and hopefully the action that it brings along with it. So super excited. And I know we had that ticker at the bottom, but y'all can stream that on Tubi, on Vimeo. I didn't miss any places where else you can watch it. I think Apple TV, if you generally find it, it'll tell you where to go, but I've got to check that out for sure.
The great thing about it too is that you get to see some of the people that you love from the Wu-Tang as well. Method Man is in it, Raekwon is in it. There's an actor that some people will remember from The Wire, Hassan Ali is in it. So just, to see them talking as people who have had a common shared human experience, it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. And I think that's the beauty of the documentaries. It always gives you, I know I'm one of those people where when I watch something, especially those where it's like based on a true story, I'm like, okay, now let me go get all the details of everybody's life, because I got to know. We're besties at this point. I got to know all the things. So y'all got to make sure if anybody else is like documentary or like you got to know all the details and tea, this is the place to get it. So we're excited to stream Killer Hill.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Of course. You wear tons of hats. So I'm like, I don't even know where to go next. We've got agent for the WNBA. We've got artists, a representative for artists. We've got your legal hat. But you're also, you've got your own thing going with Women of Southern Soul Radio. Tell us a little bit about that. Are you getting your creative bag?
Listen. It's always coming from the same point of view. It really is. It goes all the way back to just a penchant for identifying people who need, and where can I give value to them if I believe that there's something that I can do. I actually began probably about 3 years ago giving a lot of study to Black country music, and that's really where I thought that I would place my focus. In long before Cowboy Carter, I felt that something here is about to happen. Something's going to happen here for Black country artists. And I started working on a Black country music summit, something that I wanted to do that would go to how do we help the artists here feel that there is a sustainable career for them in a genre that in some instances is not welcoming to their presence,
Yeah.
when the music belongs, to all of us, because it's percussive. And so as soon as you hear that, then you should be transported to the west coast of Africa. So when you hear that, that's us. We're there. This is your music. This is true. And I started studying that, but I was, in a space at the time where there was some interest in Southern soul music, and I began to kind of get into that study of what does that mean today, and introducing myself into the content of the music, the history of the music, and then decided to focus into this subgroup of the women of Southern soul, because in the genre, having represented different artists, I felt a need there for them in a way that I didn't in other genres. The sophistication of the contracts, the ability to navigate, understanding streaming and your rights and all of those things, they hadn't seemed to have penetrated in the same way there for artists who work extremely hard, and have made a valuable contribution to the music industry. And inside of that, I saw the women of Southern soul not appearing as often on concert slates as I would think that they would. They are the shoulders on which, this music stand, going back to Ma Rainey and Memphis Minnie and Big Mama Thornton and Denise LaSalle and Millie Jackson. And those are the voices that grab the industry. So why don't I see more women on these concert slates? Or if I see one, it's remarkable as opposed to standard. And if I see two, it's amazing. And so I asked, the question of some folks at the time, Jasmine, like, why don't we do an all women Southern soul concert? Why don't we do that? And the men caucus, and the response that I got back was that it would not work. And I said, okay, well, why not? And the response was because the audience comes out to see the men. And I said, okay.
Wow.
Well, I'm a woman. I go to concerts. I see Lettucey, I see Jill Scott, I see Shaka Khan, and I look around and I see lots of women in the audience. And I see women by themselves. I see girls' night out. I see women on dates. So why do we think that the audience for the Southern soul would not come out and support women? Why would we think that? So then they caucused again. And the response was, well, it won't work because the women don't get along. And I said, okay.
Wow.
I've gone to see Patti LaBelle and Stephanie Mills. I've seen Dionne Warwick and Aretha Franklin and all of these women on stage, and they came out on time. They gave great performances. They laughed, they hugged, they took their bow. And I never knew that there was any dust up going on until social media told it. But for me in the audience, I saw professionals come out and deliver. So why do we think that the women of Southern soul would not come out and do the same thing? And are you also telling me that all of the males on the ticket get along? That they don't have difficulties with one another, but yet they come out and they deliver as professionals? So, and then, I moved on. But in that process, I believed in my hypothesis that the women of Southern Soul needed to be celebrated and that the audience would love to connect with them in a unique way as a fan base of people who love what they do, because there's a lot to it. If you look at the women of Southern Soul, you're going to see some fabulous women. You understand me, Jasmine? I mean, the look, the glam, the energy, the delivery, the professionalism, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
The richness, the robust, the dance, and the whole thing, they're putting on a show. And so I decided to just bet on myself and start this Women of Southern Soul radio show. And every artist that I spoke to was right there with me. I told them the same thing I just told you about what these responses were. And we had great conversations. And my goodness, I had women flying in from Maryland, Texas, Louisiana, everywhere to be on that little show with me because they were not being seen.
Yeah.
And not just the artists. There are wonderful, amazing professionals like Yolanda Marshall, who does Bridge the Gap Promotions, women promoters and managers and booking agents. And in addition to that, these men who are champions and allies who represent these women and collab with them and hype them and put them on. And so my show was about all of that. It was about celebrating and recognizing. And it was just it was wonderful. It was needed. It was appreciated. It was so much fun as I'd run out of the booth and run around over there and show them I could still get low, break it down.
Hey.
And encourage the networking and encourage what I would like to see, and the reason that it evolved into a Women of Southern Soul Music Institute is that I took the same concept that I was building for the Black country music artists and transferred it to this group so that they become essentially the baddest ninjas in the business, that they understand their mechanical rights, that they understand how to fully exploit their projects, that they understand what contract terms mean and how to negotiate those, that they understand how to exploit their persona and when to identify something as marketable, and that they begin to move differently in this industry. So that's what that quest is about. And you can see it sort of ties right back to I saw the need to be able to empower someone that I feel from the stories that I heard from them, that they went into spaces not sure and they went into spaces unprotected. And as a result, there were some injuries, there were some losses. That's not anything that we have to have happen now. We simply have to arm our people. And if for whatever reason you need a little, then, maybe you call me for the extra fist, but you go in knowing a reasonable expectation about what you're due and what you're protecting, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I know as we wrap up here, we got a couple questions coming in that I think kind of end us on a great note. But someone in the audience wants to know if the love of the art itself determines what deals you do and do not take. Like, do you have to like it to represent? And I feel like we kind of got a little bit of that in what you were saying earlier.
I will say that, and thank you for that question. I do feel that I'm a fan first. Like, I'm always listening. I'm always reading. I'm always, looking. I have someone that I consider a friend now that I met because I saw his art, Joshua Leonard, who developed Team Supreme. I think I've known Joshua for maybe 11 plus years now. And I saw the art and I saw the intent behind the art to create a place where people of all types, neurodivergent, could be seen as superheroes. It's a beautiful concept. And I was a fan first, and I'm still a fan. So that's certainly a part of what goes into it. But I think maybe the bigger part of it is that no, I don't have to necessarily, be the person that would hang that art in my house. But in the same way that I represented criminal clients, what I'm going to apply to it is going to be about what's right for the resolution of your matter. How do I help you? How do I keep you safe? Or how do I help you through a period of difficulty, because I have the mechanics to be able to do that and try and do it to the best of my ability. So that's about it. But then how do we vibe? So I interview clients in the same way that they're interviewing me. Are you in a space where you can receive my interpretation of the best way to help you, or to ask you maybe difficult questions that you're able to, as I like to call it, be naked with me on? Like, just, I need all of it. And don't worry about whether it sounds good or right or whatever. Just tell me what it is, because I've got a pretty thick skin and a robust background. So not very much left on the planet for me to see. So just tell me what it is. Because that's called trust. If we establish that, then there's a place that we can move forward from. If you can't get there with me, I may not be the person for you. Like, you have to be able to get there with me, and I have to feel like you're able to get there with me. So now we're in it together, because that's really what's happening. We're in it together. Are you going to do your work? So the people I have had the longest relationships with are people that not only did I admire the art form, what they wrote, how they sing, how they move, it is their discipline, their commitment to put back into the work, the fact that they get up at it every day, that they are not dropping it in my lap saying, can you get this for me? Can you get this connection for me? Can you do that? They're working it, they're turning it, they're up at night thinking about it, they sacrifice, they believe in it, they haven't given up on it. So I haven't given up on them.
I love that. Oh, that's so beautiful. And then I know we talked a little bit about off screen, a little bit about you growing up in Atlanta. And so I want to know about your thoughts of Atlanta and what it has become over the years. I know some people love it. Some people are like, ooh, this is different.
It's ATL. What's not to love? Atlanta, me growing up in Atlanta, it was a sleepy little place. For people coming from places like New York and Chicago, it still seems like a sleepy little place, but it was definitely a sleepy little place where on Sundays you could walk downtown. I can say I'm a person that actually rode horses downtown in Atlanta when I was younger. It was just as sleepy. And it was, for my era, just on the other side of the civil rights, period. So I still have remembrances of places that Blacks were just starting to feel comfortable going on their own. I had, members of my family who could not get into a hospital for care unless they got a note saying it was okay for them to be off from work. So, all of that is, a part of the history of Atlanta. But I feel that for me, at the time that I grew up in Atlanta, it was a golden age for Atlanta. It was Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young and Julian Bond. And it was very common to see those people walking through the streets, walking through your schools, and always encouraging you. And as a high school student, that I was taken around because I said I wanted to be a lawyer, and introduced to everyone who was in a position that had a law degree, to pour into me the importance of knowing the Constitution and what the people of Atlanta would need and what they needed from me in going into this. And so with visionary business people like the Russells, like Maynard Jackson, Atlanta grew into this place that could be known as the Mecca. And had wonderful opportunities for people to just be able to dream big and do big things. And so now it's certainly more of a bustling place than it was. There are a lot of people here that weren't here before.
Oh yeah.
And it's having some growing pains. It's
Mhm.
having some growing pains. There's different cultures and different ideas about, what works for Atlanta now are trying to get along with one another. So there are some growing pains here, but at the core of it, it is still a place where people come and they dream and they look for opportunity. And there is a lot of community and a lot of fun. And it's still ATL Shawty. You know what's up?
I love that. We thank you for being one of the a part of the best of what Atlanta has to offer. Thank you so much, Gia, for coming on the show, chatting with us, giving a little bit of insight to all that you do. We want to know where to find you, what to know, what to look forward to, what's coming up next. Give us all the tea and all things Gia Compton.
Oh my goodness, all the tea. Well, there are some wonderful projects that are in the hopper. I have an amazing agent in Los Angeles that's helping me to develop some projects with some people out there that I'm really excited about. When they pop, I'll be right up here with Jazzonfire trying to get
exclusive
conversation going with her, and continuing to work on some film financing deals and pitches with some amazing people. So all of those things, and always listening to great music. Like I said, if you don't know about Travis, you need to tap in on Travis Hall. You definitely need to tap in on Cameron Corvée. He's got an amazing song that's out called I Will. It's so wonderful. Amazing songwriters. I've been working a bit with Kevin Shine on the Unplugged Music Experience. If you don't know Kevin, if you don't know, you need to know. So the Unplugged Music Experience is coming up in November. And it's going to include the Icon Awards with some amazing people who have been a part of the music industry. And what I love about what Kevin does is that he really puts a spotlight on the songwriters and the producers, a different lens than what we typically see. And so that's, something that's in the hopper. Lots of great things, because I'm so blessed. The universe really just keeps intersecting me with amazing people that really make me happy and proud of what they are doing. So I love it.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, Gia Compton. As she mentioned, you can find all the lovely things that she has in the cooker that she's already done by following her on her social right here. Instagram is listed below. Women of Southern Soul Radio, you can tap into that as well. And then the projects that she mentioned, we've got them all over Instagram. Gia, thank you so much. And y'all look forward to other amazing guests to join us on In Creative Color this season. I know we will be taking a break in December, so don't miss us too much, but enjoy the holidays, spend some time with your family, love on the folks, all the things. I am Jazzonfire, your host of In Creative Color. We cannot wait to catch y'all next month for another episode, but until then, we'll see y'all. Bye. Hey y'all, I am Jasmine Bunch, but now and forever to be known as your fave Jazzonfire. And I am one of the newest hosts of the Sunday Craft Chats. Catch me every fourth Sunday hosting In Creative Color. Can't wait to see y'all there.